Right, it's giving me us, or that's also be also that government doesn't help. So people just.
Morning, you're ready to begin.
Yes. Good morning, all. I'd like to call this meeting of the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission to order. If we can please do a pledge of allegiance, and if you could stand up and please for it, we lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Commissioners, Marchand,
Here.
Ariola,
Present.
Fugazi,
Present.
Lackey, Vice Chair Zuber,
Present.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Here.
And circle that, let's see. Yeah, so on, are you on?
Wall.
Thank you, you have a forum. Is there anyone on from Stancock? So anyone on from SJRRC? We see him on. Anyone from SJRRTV?
Good morning, Ken Baxter here for RTD. I just was granted access now. Sorry. Thank you.
And Caltrans.
Good morning. This is Kim Anderson with SJCOG.
And I choose to be on my focus.
He was.
Thank you. You have one.
Okay. Thank you very much, and this is the time at which we would take public comment on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone online that would like to make public comment?
Seeing that online.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room? On the agenda public comment. Seeing no one in the room, we can move on to the consent calendar. Sarah does want to pull a few items for information purposes only, but if there are any members of the commission who would like to put on for discussion. Anyone in the public who would like to? Seeing that.
I'll move consent.
Well, you can't, because I hope to.
It's a law.
Do you want to make that motion? Okay, just a couple of things. I just wanted to make a note. That's why I was enjoy having minutes in front of me. The item 4.1. I'm going to go ahead and just skip to the list so that 4.1, 4.3, 4.9, 4.10. On 4.1, I just always like to underscore when there's an action item, the staff's asked, or commission has asked for something in the minutes that I'm sure staff is following up on that, but in the minutes under item 3, I had made a request for data on the cost of the shuttle adjustment. If it's possible to obtain that for ridership impacts, I think that's probably the relevant factor. So just and Commissioner Fugazi had asked if it's possible to reevaluate the timeline to allow riders to return to their normal schedules sooner. So I don't know if we've had a chance to look at that, if that's still in place, but I wanted to acknowledge the request from the commissioner for that information. Okay. Then for the One Voice application, the action on that, I'm actually pleased to see that. Maybe our CEO, Mr. Orlando, can you tell us how that came about, just for informational purposes?
Yeah, we have been working with the group to make sure we had something that would be appropriate for us to bring the one voice and that grant application fit well and have regional impact. And we did have to change, which is why you see that agenda what we originally had planned. So that's why I understand we can change because we part of the assessing the capital program and our grant strategy. You'll see a few items in the next meeting where we're reprioritizing grant approaches, and this was one of those ones where we thought this project was best probably for the One Voice, and so we made a switch.
I appreciate the nimbleness of that. So thank you. I think that's something that is much needed and appreciate. that person is talking. On ASAP time performance, I think I understand, because normally, we're doing great and we're doing what we can do to get to ridership numbers and on-time performance, but I did notice a dip. And I did see in the notes that it had something to do with UP freight delays. Was that what we're looking at? I'm looking at the room because I don't know who's gonna answer that question.
UP freight,
Yeah, there's some other more delays that I'll mention the other.
Okay,
Yes, UP freight in November and December was a big cause of some of the delays in quarter two, and there were some other delays that I'll mention here.
okay, that's fine, thank you. And then the only other thing was on the quarterly report out of purchases. The two firms mentioned that are assisting us in grant writing efforts. Just clarifying, their existing contracts with which we extended as an amendment to for additional work with a not to exceed. Are the contracts, have they been in place? Are they 5-year contracts, 3-year contracts? Will you just give me some understanding?
they look at their final section, that's correct, and they'll have signs.
Okay.
So it would be
That
better.
was fine.
Actually, I take that back, 2022.
Oh, you have it? Sure. Come on.
See, I
Words off.
Yeah, these are your contracts. You have something different. So,
Yeah, they're 5-year on-call contracts that started in 22, and so we're in the 3rd year of that, and then when they're amended, as the funding becomes available, we come to you if it's over 250, and I think we come to you twice for those. These ones are just under that threshold, and so we add more money to the on-call, but they're only for 5 years and they'll expire next June.
okay, I was just curious if we put those out again. Did it, so
We will.
we will.
We will, and we're public, they know, it's, on-call contracts can only be on-call for 5 years, and so that's a limiting things, so we will be putting it out.
All right. That was it in terms of my question. If there's no other questions, I will accept Mr. Marching's motion or approval of the consent. Do we have a second? Second. All right, all of those in favor?
Salwan is not on. You're Salwan, are you on? Okay.
Yes. This is Tom Dumas, Caltrans.
Roll call.
Yes. Commissioners, Marchand,
Yes.
Salwan. Ariola,
Yes.
Fugazi.
Yes.
Vice Chair Seaver,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5. Adopt motion establishing a regular rail commission meeting date with time. Mayor Monty? Yes. It's now very odd.
Staff received direction from Chair Craig Hensley to full members for a new regular meeting date and time, and based on the responses, staff recommends that you establish a new regular meeting date and time at the first Friday of the month at 8:30 a.m.
I just as a question on that was, well, can I say now Commissioner Lackey pulled on this, because I think she's been sworn in if I.
Yes.
Okay, she was fine with that too.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that being presented, is there any comment from commissioners on that? Is there any comment from the public on that? Staff doesn't count. So that being the case, if we have no comment, then take a motion
Move to adopt. Second.
and a second. Roll call.
Commissioners, Marchand,
Yes.
Salwan, Ariola,
Yes.
Fugazi.
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Seaver,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Thank you. Yes, motion carried, so motion carried. All right, on to the next item. Election of officers. I don't know after this, I mean. Anyway, Chris, you want to present for us?
Yeah, so the San Joaquin Railroad Commission bylaws, amended bylaws outline the annual process for electing the chair and vice chair. Chair and vice chair are required to be regular voting members, as you all know. Terms of office for chairperson, vice chair are 1 year. And we do that process every February. There are no prescribed sequence or terms for the position of chair and vice chair, simply that it will be reelected at each February. Nominations for chair and vice chair will be made from the floor, and only regular voting members can vote on positions. But I'll turn it over to the commission to have the session.
Thank you very much. Do I have any nominations to put forward for the chair?
I nominate Chair Craig Hensley for chair.
Second. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Do we need to take any other nominations from the floor or from commissioners, or do we vote on this?
You can pass if there are any other nominations. And then close nominations for the chair, and then we'll take that.
Okay. Any other nominations from the floor? Any others from the commission? Hearing none, then we'll close the nominations and we'll take a vote.
Commissioners, Ariola,
Yes.
Bagasi,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes. All right, moving on to the next one, for the position of vice chair of the commission. I will accept the nomination. I will make the nomination. I nominate Commissioner Zuber for currently vice chair for that position.
Second.
Motion in a second. Is there any nominations from the floor?
Sounds like a defensive set.
Seeing no nominations from the floor or from the commission, I would call for a vote.
Commissioners, Ariola,
Yes.
Bagasi,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Leah, for accepting. So.
If it ain't broke, why is it?
Okay, performance update, Nathan, full now, or, oh, I'm sorry, it isn't gonna be Nathan, is it? Okay. Both of you, okay, good, thank you.
So good morning, commissioners. My name is Chad Duchel, and I'm the Transportation Research Analyst here at the Rail Commission. Welcome to the ACE Quarterly Performance Update, Q2 fiscal year 25-26. During the second quarter of FY 25-26, ACE continued to demonstrate strong ridership momentum and sustained recovery, building on gains achieved earlier in the fiscal year. Q2 ridership totaled just over 213,000 passengers, representing an almost 8% increase year over year, and confirming a continued growing demand for the service. On the financial side, ACE fare revenue for the quarter reached nearly $1.7 million, which was an increase of about 5% year over year. While Q2 ridership came in approximately 5% below forecast, year-to-date performance remained ahead thanks to a strong Q1, where actual ridership outperformed expected by nearly 10%. Subsequently, at the end of Q2, ACE had carried more than 460,000 riders, exceeding the year-to-date forecast by about 2%, and reflecting a nearly 16% increase year over year, thus indicating that early year strength has more than offset a modest Q2 forecast variance. As is typical of the service, revenue performance tracked closely with ridership trends during the quarter. Similarly to ridership, ACE fare revenue fell short of the Q2 goal by about 2%. However, this was also offset by a strong first quarter, which performed about 8% above forecast. And this ultimately resulted in fare revenue outperforming the year-to-date forecast by 3%. In short, the second quarter of fiscal year 25-26 marked another solid quarter for ACE, with year-over-year growth, forecast resilience at the year-to-date levels, and sustained progress towards long-term recovery benchmarks. The service is well positioned as it moves into the second half of the fiscal year. Looking at station utilization in terms of westbound or morning departures, we see that San Joaquin County featured modest but consistent growth in passenger boardings at 4%, thus reinforcing stable, consistent growth in our core commuter market. Further down the corridor, the Tri-Valley area saw solid ridership gains of almost 9%, indicative of continued strengthening of regional connectivity and service engagement. Lastly, of these three departure groupings, the Fremont station experienced strongest growth percentage-wide, reflecting an expanding awareness and increasing utilization from a smaller base. Interesting to note here is that the station departure utilization for Fremont actually grew more rapidly during Q2 than Q1, and that demonstrates an increasing rate of growth at that location. Moving on to Station arrivals. Station utilization for the Tri-Valley area underwent modest but steady growth at 4%, indicating stable commuter and transfer activity. The Fremont and South Bay station arrivals, which remain the primary driver of system-wide growth, increased nearly 7%, underscoring sustained destination demand in the South Bay region. Overall, Q2 westbound ridership showed meaningful year-over-year growth across both departures and arrivals, signaling continued post-pandemic recovery and strengthening regional engagement. Fremont and the South Bay remained the primary drivers of growth, while the Tri-Valley corridor contributed steady incremental gains. Together, these trends reflect healthy end-to-end travel demand and a continued concentration of activity within the service's strongest destination markets. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll hand it off to Nathan and we'll take questions at the end.
Thank you, Chad. So before we get into the numbers for Q2, I wanted to just level set how we actually measure on-time performance for the ACE service. For ACE, we use what's called endpoint on-time performance, and this specifically tracks whether a train makes it to its final destination within a reasonable amount of time according to its published schedule. In the commuter industry, the common standard is whether a train makes it to that final destination within 5 minutes and 59 seconds of its scheduled published arrival time. Anything 6 minutes or later would then be considered a late train for that day's run. So what about our goal for on-time performance? For ACE, we're obviously aiming to provide reliable service for our passengers, as most of them are commuters and are traveling to work. And so we have that set at 90%, which we think is a reasonable goal, given that we share the corridor with freight traffic as well as other passenger trains near the end of our corridor. So how have we done over the past couple of years? So looking back over the last couple of fiscal years, you can see that ACE has a strong track record of providing that consistent performance, as we've regularly meet or exceeded that 90% goal in the majority of those quarters over the past couple of years. As you mentioned, we did have some slight dips here and there, but those have usually been very slight, and we've always been able to bounce back in the next quarter. I'm a golfer, and in golf they have a statistic where they measure a golfer's ability once he has a bad round to bounce back and have a good round after that. And ACE has shown that resilience and being able to provide that consistent level of performance. Looking at this year, if you look at Q1, we started out strong at 91% for Q1, and then we did have that more pronounced dip in Q2 at 86%. And we'll get into some of the reasons why here in just a moment. Looking at some of the numbers on a month-by-month basis, we actually didn't start out the quarter too badly, coming in just 1% under goal in October at 89%. In November, we dropped 1 more percent down to 88%. But then in December, you can see is where we had that more pronounced dip down to 82%. To give you a little bit more context on what that actually means in terms of the volume of late trains that we had, you can see here that in October, we had a total of 21 late trains for the month. That dropped down to 16% or 16 trains in November, and then back up to 29 in December. You can see in October, we ran a much higher volume of trains, and that's due to the holidays that we had throughout November and December. There were a number of days in those months where we ran modified service of just 2 round trips on lower ridership days, and then days where we didn't run service at all due to the holidays. In November and December, as was mentioned earlier, we typically see increased freight traffic on our corridor, and that's due to Union Pacific's peak season. They have what's called their peak holiday season, and that runs from the day after Thanksgiving, from Black Friday, all the way through the end of the year. They see increased shipping volumes during this time, and their trains are on really strict schedule adherence for that time period. If we look at the delay causes over the past quarter, you can see that reflected in these FTI numbers, what we call freight train interference. For the month of October, it was right about where we usually see, around 3 trains late during that month. But you can see in November and December, we had a total of 13 trains that were delayed or late due to freight train interference. Normally, we're able to absorb those pretty well, but as you can see, there were some other delay causes that were more pronounced in Q2. Specifically, point your attention to the disabled freight column. These are where trains or freight trains have breakdowns and they cause some more major delays for the service. In October, we had a total of 5 and 7 in December. So 12, that sounds like a lot of broken down trains. But these actually occurred over just a few days throughout the quarter, and they were very lengthy delays, and they affected a multiple number of our trains. And so we were hit particularly hard by those. And then also throughout the quarter, we had some increase in what we call signal delays or signal malfunctions. In October, we had one, nothing really big there, but in December or November and December, we also had an increase in those. And those were mostly due to weather related issues. We do see some signal issues from time to time due to vandalism along the corridor. Copper wire theft is very prevalent, as you know. And those are the usual causes for signal delays, but we had some rain and some dense fog throughout that time period that caused some issues with the signal system. So those are some of the increases that were responsible for the dip in Q2. Taking a look at things on a directional basis, historically, we've seen better performance in the eastbound direction, and this is due to us seeing that usually most of our freight train interference on the morning commute side. You can see in the mornings, our performance was right about where we usually are at 86%, kind of right in the middle of that. But in the eastbound direction, we saw the biggest dip in performance coming in the same as the westbound at 86%. And normally we're in the mid to high 90s in the eastbound direction. And that's because some of those incidents that we talked about just a moment ago occurred more in the afternoon schedule. Another thing that affects us normally in the mornings, in the past on A7, A7 has had a long-standing conflict with actually one of the Gold Runner trains that makes the stop here at this station, the Cabral station, and that's train 702. Train 702 has had its own freight conflict that frequently delays that train into the station and then subsequently delays A7's arrival and departure from Cabral station. If you take a look over the past year, you can see A7's performance has been pretty inconsistent. And although we've had seen a few high months here and there, we'd like to see a much higher level of performance of that train on a more consistent basis. And so on December 8th, the JPA made an overall schedule change to the Gold Runner service that actually removed that conflict. And you can see that in December, A7's on-time performance was at 95%. So we'll hope that continues. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. Now, looking ahead to Q3, we mentioned the Super Bowl impacts to our shuttle program. Those are scheduled to end on February 22nd, so we'll return to normal shuttle service on February 23rd. But we'll be bringing you an item in Q3 to show some of the effects of that performance has or those modifications have had to the service. And then also looking ahead, we're in Q3, we'll be launching our new point of sales system. That will provide some better data around our ticketing and also provide a better in-station experience for our customers. So we'll look forward to that. With that, staff is happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Yeah. I do have a question. So, when looking at Q2 on ACE revenue, I know it says that year-to-date fare revenue remains ahead of plan. But what was the reason, do you think, in your professional capacity, for that dip that we had that did not meet our forecast?
Sure.
Because even a dip from Q1 to Q2, 200,000, so.
Yeah, so the forecast is set for the entire year, and Q2, which has a seasonal dip in performance, can have a greater variance from the annual forecast during the slower months. So coupled with that, there's also one less operating day during the quarter from last year. But by itself, Q2 does reflect a dip in the forecast, but when combined with Q1, of course, like I said, the overall performance is trending above. But yeah, I think it's just indicative of the way that the forecast was previously developed, and the agency has taken steps to kind of rectify that going forward. But yeah, that'd be the real.
Yeah, no, I like looking at the data. I see some pluses and I see some areas for growth, obviously. Even with our on-time performance, and I don't know if that's affecting then, people who just say, I'll just until this mull's over, I'm gonna take myself as opposed to take the train. Looking forward to having our numbers fully rebound.
I would just kind of follow up on that, saying in one positive question about, as quite a substantial increase in Fremont. I mean, the numbers is 1,000 some, but 32% increase. Do you have any idea of where that spike in growth is coming from? Is it marketing? Is it the times for the trains now? Do you know why we saw such a significant increase?
That is something I definitely want to look into. We haven't delved into that too much. I think this is kind of like a relatively new discovery. I think for the Fremont departures through Ivan, that kind of speaks to, you know, like maybe like a shorter commute possibility between Fremont and the South Bay. And I was looking at it, yeah, with 32% increase, like you said, it's only 1,000 for that location. But if San Joaquin were to have a 32% increase, it would be
Right.
plus 20,000.
Yeah.
So looking into it that way, it's, you know, Fremont is performing quite excellently. And,
Yeah. It
definitely.
does make me wonder if like they're just getting tired of the glut and getting in the car and sitting in traffic and okay, let's just try this train thing. So, I'm very heartened by that, and hope that that continues on that same track. And to Commissioner Ghazi's comment, it does look like the ridership, notwithstanding the on-time performance lagging, that the ridership is still shooting up. So, you know, hopefully no long-term effects from some of this. I assume we do factor in the special trains to those on-time performance numbers.
Actually, the special trains are not counted in this on-time performance, but I've seen provides information on them.
I was gonna give you some leeway on that. I just throw those out, see, but I would be curious, because with the special trains, I know we're getting a lot of riders, they're very popular, sometimes I can slow things down, all that revelry going on, you know, trying to get people into the train and see it. But it would be interesting to know if those are big targets as well, so.
Yeah, I think they actually performed pretty well this year. I believe there was only one train where we had some kind of more major delays,
Okay.
but the riders were so late that they could be game on.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's important to look at those trains, not only in ridership and produce in and of themselves.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're predominantly, there's a problem with riders.
Yeah.
And that's a very big thing to attract new riders to the system as a whole, to have that engagement for a special event.
Yeah, that would be good to know because if that's our opportunity in the future, they can ride the train and realize how effortless it is. So, okay, thank you, gentlemen, very much. So this was just an informational, so we can move on to the next item, board member comments. Any comments from board members on anything? I do have some comments. I was fortunate to accompany our deputy executive director and our operations director to meet with our insurance providers, our brokers. And I can't tell you how impressed they were, our brokers were, and how important it is that we have such a strong safety record and that we have such a strong record in how we address claims. Because I think that I hope here at some point here where we are with all of this, but I think that we should be extremely proud of the efforts of our staff and our personnel, because that is what keeps people investing in our system. And I think that it was extremely important to understand what the brokers, the underwriters are looking for. So I feel very comfortable moving forward on that. And at some point, I'm sure we'll hear back our statuses. So it is amazing how much underwriting insurance we need in order to keep this rail line moving. And that it is not just domestic, that we really have to go outside these borders to look for coverage. So excellent job, gentlemen. And Mr. Crane did a fine job as well. And I hope you have a nice trip to New York as well. So thank you very much for that. Extremely important. Okay, moving on. Do we have ex officio comments? Did we end up getting Zawalin?
There is no conference.
There's no call. Okay, so we can go ahead and move to SJRRC. Ms. Anderson, do you have something to share with us?
Hello. Sorry, Chair. I'm finding my unmute button. I apologize, I'll be off camera today. I'm mobile, but I do have one announcement on March 10th at the Oak Park Senior Center here in Stockton. We're pleased to announce the launch of our Clean Mobility Options car share service. This is an expansion of the existing MeoCar car share service. And eventually will be 3 new locations throughout the city for additional opportunities for residents to use the EV car share. So March 10th, 11 a.m. at the Oak Park Senior Center, we'll be launching that site and we will have staff on hand to answer any questions about the service. That's my only comment. Thank you very much.
Ms. Anderson. We can move on. Mr. Baxter, do you have something to share with us from RTD?
I sure do. I have one item, and good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Ken Baxter, RTD. So this is a follow-up from last month's board meeting where Commissioner Fugazi was asking or inquiring about the Amtrak bus stations, the illumination. And I just want to say thank you so much, Mayor, Commissioner, for bringing that to my attention. And so after that board meeting, after the day was over, I went over there in the evening and sure enough, there were no lights right there. So what I have here, I was hoping to screen share this, but this is a great outcome here. So I don't know if you can see that, but that I'm holding this up. This is my screen share. So this is at 6:15 this morning. So this is contiguous to the Amtrak parking or the parking lot, and it's San Joaquin Street southbound, and so it's pretty hard to see there, but you can see the bus bench and that huge luminary there. So the quick fix was to make a slight adjustment to one of those lights, and I want to thank the Rail Commission, Tamika and David and your staff, because I think you we're 100% behind that to make that happen. It was an easy fix. My fix was to link in up there and rewire and put another little light shining the opposite direction. So, and then the other side, the northbound going into Stockton. So this is across the street and it's just south of the railroad tracks there. And you can see, let me push my paper down. You can see the light up there, the standard, it's on. When I went out there a month ago, it was not on. And apparently what it was the bulb was out, that simple. And so I know the mayor, Fugazi, thank you again. You did your own submittal. I did it early that morning, the next day, I think it was. And between the two of us, it worked, it was done. So I want to send out my kudos and a big thank you to the Stockton Public Works Maintenance Street Lighting type team that did that work. I want to say a big thank you to the Amtrak rep that I talked to one time when I first went out there, and to the RTD team that was involved, our facilities people, as well as the Rail Commission staff. And to me, I love these moments because it shows the partnership, the collaboration, and a real positive outcome. And what's important here at the end of the day is we made that area safer for the people we serve. And so this is a real happy moment for me. I may not seem that passionate and happy about it, but trust me, I'm very excited about these little things that do make a difference. So in the future, if anyone has any issues with the RTD system, whatever it is, and you don't know who to contact, just let me know and I'll jump in there and handle it. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Now I'm ready to get the complaints on how bright it is.
Okay, no more complaints from there.
And I welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter, for
Thank
that.
you.
Being responsive to Rail Commissioner's request, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move on to Mr. Dumas.
Thank you. I too am on a mobile right now. I just want to congratulate the Rail Commission on their recent award of $602,000 toward operating funds for the operating of the services to San Jose. It was part of another 141 projects that were funded by the Climate Investment Program, LC TOPS, for those who also were digging deep into the program. but over the past decade, they've invested over $1.4 billion into over 1,500 projects throughout the state. Also, the CHP have started a new program for all of you super speeders out there. They last month they gave about 1,600 citations statewide for folks that were traveling over 100 miles an hour, and with the dangers and everything involved with that, they have a new program where once they get a ticket, it's called FAST. They forward the actions over to the DMV and take further actions from there, depending on the person, histories and that sort of thing. It's pretty special program, and they have a bunch of CHP officers out there to try to slow that down. So everybody, drive carefully. That's it. Thank you.
Moving on, Mr. Orlando, your CEO.
Thank you. I have a couple items this morning. The first is we have a new team member that we'd like to welcome. I'll ask the supervisor, Benjamin Beeker, to be introduced.
Morning, Chair and staff. I want to welcome Todd Cunha. Todd comes to us from the gambling community. Not that he's a gambler, but he's a welcome addition. His skills have already been put to use and have made a fine impact in some of our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome aboard, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Welcome, Todd. We've already had a lot of chance to interact, so thank you. Already being on top a lot. A couple other items. As everyone knows, we are providing Super Bowl service. So just wanted to do one last pitch for that service. So the service departs here on Super Bowl Sunday at 9:30 a.m. and we will get you to Levi Stadium at 12:23 a.m. So POs, no aiming, and we'll get you there in the morning. Oh, sure. Yeah, did you see it? 11. Oh, 23 a.m. That's right. No, you're good. You're good. And then here's that confusion. The return trip is 9:30 p.m. leaving out of Great America, and we'll get back here at 11:28. So it's a you gotta be a Harley Super Bowl fan. Yeah. So buy tickets online or in the app. We sold about 160 tickets. Unfortunately, we don't get the $8,000 per ticket price that the Super Bowl's getting. But we're very happy with 160 tickets, and our passengers are notoriously last minute buyers, so we expect that number to improve that a bit. We were out Wednesday morning. The team was out at Great America doing customer appreciation for the folks who had to deal with the shuttle displacement.
Right.
We were handing out pastries and iced coffee and energy drinks, which was well received by the passengers. So hopefully they will bear with us. We're thankful that we're out there, and I think we've seen an impact, and we'll report on that, as Nathan said, next month. A lot of folks have moved stations, sometimes Santa Clara Station, a lot of activity. So I think it will be all right. Our packages on the list, but it has been pretty significant displacement. And as Nathan noted, February 23rd will be back. So we are trying to get that in early, but still looking like it will be the 23rd. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. With that, and council, we are moving into a closed session. Would you like to announce a closed session?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We have 3 items on for closed session. Item 11 is closed session conference with legal counsel anticipated litigation. We have 5 cases regarding real property that the commission owns at 6400 Blacktop Road and 6362 Blacktop Road, occupied by Alfredo Castro, AG Auto Group, Alexander Medvedev, and Auto Boss LLC. Item 12 is closed session conference with real property negotiators. This concerns the Midtown Station. The APN is 0100023-018. The city of Sacramento is the owner of that property. It is for a temporary construction easement. The agency negotiator is Tim McLeod of Monument, and the negotiating party or SJRRC is Tracy Canfield. Under negotiation are price and payment terms. Both of those items are regular voting members only. And item 13 is closed session public employee performance evaluation and conference with labor negotiators. That is agency designated representative Lisa Ray Kinsley as board chair, and the unrepresented employee is myself as general counsel. And that is also regular voting members only. And with that, unless there are any comments, we will adjourn to closed session. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
It's like, nice to be very. I don't.
I don't think we are ready to. Okay, I'll just back to both sessions, so. That just report out.
Yes, item number 11, that item was discussed, direction was given by the commission, and at this time, there was no other reportable action. Item 12, and was the property from SJRRC, again, that was authorization given after discussion, and at this time, no other reportable action.
I can go ahead and report out item 13, and give some direction to our CEO, and the item will.
That's not a bad thing.
No. I was going by afterwards, it's all right. It's true. It's a good one, so. All right, with that, and if there's no other business, I will adjourn the meeting at 10:48. Well,
Well, I, he is right, please look at it.